Alright, I'm going to go out on the first sunny day, and hopefully my video won't be all dark like it was before. We're going to put some break-in miles on the new MT10 2023 model. Only some basic mods so far, just kind of close the garage door. Microphone should hopefully be working. We're going to go up to the mountains tomorrow, so I need to get at least 100 miles on it today so I can get my break-in miles out of the way. So I don't feel bad about wailing on it tomorrow. So we get some additional riding impressions. Oh look, there's my speed twin with Jimmy. Letting Jimmy ride that for the day. Get some more, oh it doesn't really need break-in miles, but getting some more miles on it. Oh, I so love having a quick shifter and auto blip again. Gotta get these brake pads bedded in though. Front brakes still feel a little spongy. Come on, Nick, catch up. So, I don't know how many miles we got on this thing. It's not a lot. So, you know, I'm going to kind of baby it. First 50 miles. Get on it a little bit harder after that. By 100 or so, I give it the good to go, and we're going to romp on it and have a lot of fun. Suspension feels nice. So far it's compliant. Now I tweaked it up a little bit myself, but it's not had the professional touch I get from GMD CompuTrack. Oh yeah, this thing just wants to go. Now I'm in B mode, but I've got power in 1, so I'm using the traction and lift control and all that stuff of the slightly toned down B mode, but I am using full power mode. So maybe once this thing has the ECU flash and a link pipe, it might be a little rambunctious in that, and maybe I'll go back to power mode 2, which is what I ran on my R1. Make sure that it gets uncorked for full power. That's like 5% throttle. Barely touching it. Yeah, A mode's not too lurchy. A lot of people complain about it, say, oh yeah, use B mode, B mode's too sensitive. I mean, on the R1 it was, but the R1 was making another 50 horsepower, 40 horsepower. I mean, it was a fairly substantial increase in power. And, you know, A mode on that bike might not be the same as A mode on this bike. I mean, this is based off of that bike, but there are differences. So we got frame sliders coming. I put my passenger pegs back on simply because there's I don't have any real frame protection, and so those stick out and they're pretty stout. And so if I were to drop it at low speed or in the driveway or something, the passenger peg would take a hit before anything on the tail or the swing arm did. So I'm going to use that as a makeshift little bit of tail protection, at least until my other stuff gets here. We're going to put on some GB Racing case covers, as well as an OES frame slider kit. I'll get the protection for the front and rear axle. So, you know, it'll be about as well protected as it can be. We're rolling on the stock S22s, which feel pretty good. I have no problem with those. I definitely like the Dunlops better. I actually like Super Course SP3s. Those are my favorite tire, but on a bike like this, I'll be replacing rear tires every 1,500–1,600 miles. They're just not worth it. The Dunlops, the Q3 Pluses, and now I guess there's the Q5S or something. I mean, those are going to be phenomenal. Who is this dickhead going slow? Lady, it's green. It's got to be a little old lady. Has to be. And we're going to have to pass her. I really hope she's turning left. I can't even see hair. All I see is knuckles on the damn steering wheel. Weaving all over the place. Besides, who drives that Grand Marquis? Gotta be an old person. Has to be. Oh my God, go. So, what do we think? Well, weather's nice. It's almost 70 degrees. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit warmer. It's just absolutely freaking gorgeous out. So we're going to hit a couple back roads, head up to Athens, Georgia, near UGA for some lunch, late lunch. And I'm just trying to get some miles on these tires and on the motor. Dude, you couldn't... I'm going to be so annoyed today at drivers. They're just like, oh, there's someone coming a half mile. I might as well... And they're going... Like, I must stop and wait for them to pass. Jimmy's behind me probably having a riot on that Speed Twin. He loves that bike. He had an R1, he had a ZX6R. His mom just passed away and he had to, wanted to pay off his truck. So he sold all his bikes and trailer and all the toys just to pay off his brand new truck. So now he owns that outright. It's a 2023, I think. And because he's got to move and start paying rent or a mortgage or something. So I was like, well, I got 3 bikes at the moment, plus Donna's. So if you want to go riding, man, come over and pick a bike. So he likes that over the ZX14. I would have ridden the ZX14, but oh my God, these people are so slow. They're like scared little rabbits every time the road has a little bend in it. Oh, what the fuck, man? And then we got a student driver in front of us. Jesus. It's a nice day out. We get some nice day, nice roads, and all we get are just these chowder heads that are just afraid to go the speed limit. Yeah, I guess I'm going to get the Leo Vinci link pipe. I definitely want to drop some weight, and then I'm going to get it tuned and all that stuff, get the power. Although this thing is rambunctious. Jesus. Yeah, A mode is awesome. I'm definitely, like power mode 1, I'm definitely liking the traction and with lift control and all that stuff of mode B. But I just bumped it to power mode 1 and it feels awesome. Very direct. Very linear, but not abrupt or snatchy. It's not fidgety. The stock exhaust sounds pretty good though. But the acceleration's just instant, just burp, they're gone. I like this. Seating position, very comfortable. Seat, nice, firm. I feel like that'll soften up, but I know that there's aftermarket seats for these, so no worries there. I'm just rolling through here in third, being all kind of lazy-like, not ladylike. But it's just effortless. I'm not having to wring its neck. I'm going through here like 9% throttle, 20% just wants to lift the front. Third. Yeah, this is delightful. This was a good move. This bike is all the things I like about the Street Triple RS. It's a little heavier. It doesn't have Öhlins and stuff, but honestly, the suspension feels fine. We'll go this way, but we gotta wait for Nick. No. You like it? I said, you like it?
Oh yeah, this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It feels good. The suspension, when you rode it, it had the shocks, but not the forks. I hear a Harley. Here we go. So, if I rode one of these, I probably mentioned in the first video, first ride impression. I rode Wesley's. I think his might have been a 16, 17, 18. It's fairly new, but it was the previous generation. And his felt weird. I think the back tire might have been a 190/50, and so it just didn't feel like it wanted to turn in that quick. And his felt very thick and very wide through the middle. You felt like you were doing a split and having to straddle it. And this doesn't. It's not as slender as the Street Triple RS, but it does feel slender. You feel more in it than on it. It flicks around nice. It's stable. Like I said, I gotta get on the brakes a bit. I gotta get to I gotta get some heat cycles into that and burn that. Whatever stuff they put on, the preservative they put on the damn discs. That weren't like dangerous, like I wouldn't be able to stop. But definitely, I gotta put some good heat, get down get up to like 100 and just clamp down on them and do that a couple times to heat them up and burn off anything on there. They aren't braided lines, so that'll be an upgrade at some point. But everybody did say that once you break the brakes, bed the pads in, the new master cylinder really did make a big difference going to the Brembo. They're not Brembo calipers, but yeah, suspension is good so far. The front felt a bit stiff and the back felt a bit soft. I haven't played with preload and stuff like that. I just kind of eyeballed it. I'm in the ballpark, but it needs to be tweaked. But I want someone like Kent up at GMD to do the right measurements and stuff, and then we'll dial in the clickers. But it's basically R1 suspension. I mean, the valve rates might be slightly different, but it's the same kind of a KYB setup up front. I think it's a KYB shock in the back. But you've got preload on both, compression and rebound on both forks, which is nice. And on the back, you've got preload and you've got rebound and both high and low speed compression. So it's a pretty good setup. I mean, it's not the SP, but with Öhlins and stuff, I don't think I'm going to outride the limit of it. If Kent looked at it and said, then I could just throw an Öhlins shock or something. We put suspension into that bike, the Speed Twin, and it made a big difference, but that had preload on the rear and that was it. No adjustment on the damping. It was sprung really soft. It wasn't hope, but if you're just riding it like a Bonneville, but if you're going to ride it like a sport bike, it really was not adequate, so we put money into that. This one, I don't think we're going to have to. I think we're just going to need to dial it in and just set it up. I mean, maybe he'll tell me it needs a spring or something. I don't know. And one thing I like about the quick shifter here that I don't like about the Ducati is the Ducati, you can't auto blip down if the throttle is fully closed. So you roll off the gas and you're giving it no throttle. Won't work. You got to have a little bit of throttle, which I don't like, because usually if I want to use auto blip, it's because I rolled off the throttle. And I find that on the Ducati, it's a little more herky-jerky if you're doing, if you have it on the gas a little bit and then downshift. I don't know what this guy's doing. I think he's letting this go by, so. It's very smooth. The wind blast is not bad. I may have mentioned before, but if you didn't watch the other video, that windscreen does a decent bit of deflection. I would like to get a taller one, but I've heard everybody say that when you do that, I'll have happen what happened on the CX-14, that it basically dumps it into your face instead, and creates more turbulence and wind noise. So I might have to experiment. But these scoops create a bit of a barrier around your legs. You don't feel it pulling at your knees as much. You really do feel like you're kind of more sitting in it. I feel very neutral. I'm a little bit lean forward. I got cruise control. The only thing this thing doesn't have really is heated grips. I can add those. Yamaha makes a set that I guess plug right in, and then you control them through the switchgear, just like the Triumph does. So we're coming into the warm season, so I don't have to worry about it now. I can spend the money next year. But the mirror isn't the prettiest, but it's working. But I do have a different bar end that'll be shorter, and it has a groove, and I think it'll bolt up much nicer. It'll look a lot better. So those should be here later today. So if they are and it works, we'll do a Dave's Garage mod of that. And one thing I'll say is on downshifts, it takes a little more pressure on the Yamaha. Like you got to push it. Upshift is very quick and seamless. Down takes a bit more pressure. That might loosen up as the linkage wears in. Don't know. Jesus Christ, did we lose Nick again? Nick, don't get mad when you're watching the video. I'm not trying to bust your balls. I look back and I'm like, I don't even see him. I think it doesn't. Oh, there he is. Doesn't have his high beam on. That's what makes it easy to see. That's why I always ride with my high beam on. Some people are like, oh, you just annoy drivers. And it's like, yeah, well, if they're annoyed, that means they saw me. And when I'm looking back trying to say, hey, is so-and-so there? It's harder to see in a little mirror as I'm moving and it's, you know, vibrating and stuff. It's hard to make out what shape or what, you know, but if I see, oh yeah, I can see that high beam. At least I know there's a bike there. So, how... Where is my... That's my turn signal. I want to know... Like, where's my odometer? Get out of the freaking way. $26.7 miles. Alright. Well, it's trip 2, but whatever. That means I have to have at least that. Oh, and now we got Wilbur in the old truck. Jesus, I don't understand. Every slow asshole. George is getting upset. It's like I like that you have a classic car from the 40s or 50s or whatever, but you don't have to drive like we're still in the 1940s and 50s. I'm not even trying to go that fast here, but it's like I certainly don't want to be stuck behind someone who's going 5 under the speed limit. And they're the kind of person that'll just turn, hit the brakes, slam the brakes, and turn without any freaking turn signals. So I don't like being behind them. Plus, also, I hate riding behind pickup trucks, because down here in the South, everybody just throws all their trash and junk in the back. Like, oh, it's a pickup truck. And they'll just throw, and all of a sudden you got like soda bottles and shit flying past your head and stuff bouncing off your tire. Like, well, that's what we do in the South. Looking down at his phone too. I'll say that front end feels great. It feels very planted like the R1, but you've got so much more control with the wider bar. Very effortless, but man, it's very stable once it's on the side of the tire. It's not jittery. It's holding the line nice. It's not weaving or anything. Actually, we could go to Brazelton Brew Pub. You know what? That's where we'll go for lunch. I don't want to wait that long. I know Jimmy's birthday. Jimmy's 51 today. Happy birthday, Jimmy. And we lost Nick. Nick wants to get rid of that Harley and get a sport bike. I think when he rides with us, he feels bad that like he might be holding us up, or he's bad. And it's like, dude, you ride. We don't care. We don't have a lot of ego when we ride. I mean, maybe Cameron does. He's a bit of a prima donna. Love you, Cam. But yeah, Jim just fell way back, so he's probably waiting for Nick too. See, Jimmy's got his high beam on, so I can see him. You can see that little bitty speck. I'm hoping Nick didn't crash or something. It's one of those turns. We watch it, so like, what the fuck? Why would I crash in a turn? I don't know. I always assume the worst. Keep on trucking, Jimmy. There he is. Yeah, turn the damn high beam on. I'll tell him that when we stop next. $30 miles. $30 miles on the odometer. There he is. GSP probably. Give them the nod. Got no problem with cops. We're doing the speed limit. Most cops are cool. If you don't give them any shit and you just... I've been pulled over quite a few times, and as long as you're not screwing around too much and you're respectful and don't give them dumb excuses. It's like, just admit what you did. And more often than not, they will give you a warning. And I found that they give us a warning more on the bike. Because they think you're going to run, and then when you don't, they're like, oh, okay, the guy's, you know, yeah, he was speeding a little or whatever, but hey, he could have run, and he would have outrun me, and he didn't. You know, he pulled over, and he didn't give me shit. He was nice. I'm going to give this guy a break. I'm dealing with someone who's, you know, they're just goofing around. They're not completely irresponsible. But the guys you see on YouTube's just giving them the finger and taking off. It's like, bad move, dude. Because when they do catch up with you, there will be no talking your way out of that. You'll get reckless driving, felony evasion. You know, they're going to throw the fucking book at you just to mess with you at that point. Pound your bike. It's like we all go out and play and do things we shouldn't, but we know we can get in trouble, and if you do, take your lumps and sack up, and, you know, don't run and put people's lives at risk because you don't want to get a warning or a ticket for 20 over, dude. It's just money. But I'm loving the way this thing feels. Let's say let's try cruise control. So I got cruise controls on, and let's set it. Huh. Nice. Got it set at 62. Oh, let's go. Oh, I'm going to that side, and I gotta go this side. That's funny. I like doing that. Just having playing with the cruise control. You don't use it much, but if you're just tooling along on a country road like this, why not? I had it on the Aprilia, but I hardly ever used it. Honestly, I kind of forgot it was there. But then I started using it when I had the Tracer, when we went on that trip. So it does make it nice, because when I want to turn my camera on and off, normally I got to cut the throttle because I got to use my right hand to feel the damn button. Do that, turn it off, and it eases. Oh, and it's nice. It eases off the. Because if you don't have the throttle on, you go from partial throttle to nothing. A lot of them just dump it off, and it's like, and you lurch forward. This eased it off. Little things like that, little usability things like that, that someone thought, hey, we're in there programming this shit anyway. How's about we just not be dicks? And it's like, let's take the extra three minutes of coding to put that in there. It's the little touch. That's the finesse. That's the nice. You're like, okay, it occurred to someone, and they thought and cared enough to put that little bit in there, and you don't think, oh, well, what's the difference? It's just cruise control. It's one little thing. There's a lot of little things, and that's what adds up to refinement. Is it functional? Yeah. Man, this thing just glides around a turn. It is so smooth. I can't wait to get the suspension actually dialed in, man. Alright, Jimmy needs gas. Don't worry, Jimmy, you got 20 miles. Yeah, I really like the way this thing feels. I'm gonna admit, the looks on it, I mean, street triples look cool, but from certain angles, I mean, you think of the old speed triples that had the bug eyes. The faithful loved them, but most people looked at it and go, that's like, it looks like, I don't know, cartoon character or something. It's goofy looking. And I'm not gonna lie, the front end on this, I think from the side, the back, everything looks pretty damn good. The front, the nose, where the headlights are, I'm kind of, But I don't dislike it enough that, because it's like I buy a bike to ride it. I want it to look good, so if it looks hideous, I might not buy it. But you know, the Ducati Hyper Motard, when it first came out, the 1100, it's got that weird beak. It was tall, it was goofy looking. But I'm going to tell you, that was one of the nicest bikes to just ride around town. You didn't want to go much over 100 miles an hour on it, but it was a dream in the turns. Really, the suspension really soaked up the bumps. You could ride it like a sport bike or a giant supermoto. It had lots of torque. It was a little wheelie monster. It was 1100 V-twin, air-cooled, but plenty of torque. It looked ugly as sin. It was not a good-looking bike from any angle. Pierre Terblanche was the designer. He did the Ducati 99S and I think the Sport Classics. Sport Classics he did a good job on. He took some flack on the 999Ss. That was the ones with the bullet nose and the vertical stacked headlights. And the Ducati, who had been used to, the faithful had been used to the 916. Iconic. One of the best, you know, it was Massimo Tamburini. I think that was the guy that did that one. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I might have that wrong. But Pierre Terblanche came in. I think he's South African. And he did some cool stuff. I think then he went to Norton or somewhere else, but you know, I like the 999S, but everyone was used to the 916, 996, 998. Yeah, half throttle, effortless front end coming up in second. Just burp, really nice. But he did the he did the Sport Classics, I believe, and those were really cool. But then he did the Hyper Motard. He did the first Multistrada. His designs, he was a function over form kind of guy. I will give him that. And the old Multistradas, ugly as sin. They really looked horrible. Really nice to ride. Very functional. Great touring bikes. And the same with the Hyper Motard. So I can get past the looks at times. I don't mind it too much. This will grow on me. You know, I was used to being on full-on sport bikes, and then when I saw, you know, the first street triple, I was like, kind of weird. But they're really lovely to ride. My eyes are watering like crazy. All the pollen. Should have grabbed my damn eye drops. Alright, we gotta find a gas station for Jimmy. Go over to Brazelton Brew Pub and grab a bite. Shouldn't be too busy at this time on a Saturday. I would, however, like to get past this guy, but I think we're like almost down in town. We're almost there, so I'm going to pass him. If there's going to be a cop, it'll be around here. Yeah. So far, you know, we're gonna put it through its paces more tomorrow. We'll be up in the mountains, and I'll go up 60, and we're gonna go to TWO. We're gonna have some fun. Yeah, man, that wheel just wants to fly up. Perfect amount of power. I'm sure once I get it opened up, I'll feel where it shuts the power down before redline. You know, I don't want to get that back with an ECU flash, but I don't know. Oh yeah, we're almost at the frickin' restaurant. We'll get gas afterwards. And then there's a gas station down the road we can hit after that. The restaurant's right over there. We're gonna eat right over there, and then we can gas up on the way back. Yeah, I mean, it really feels good. It feels plush, but it's not wallowy. I was expecting this thing to maybe, I don't know, I'm just used to how bikes are out of the box. I was expecting it to be a little twitchy or just a little wallowy, a little pitchy. In the turns, I mean, I just leaned it over and it just sat there. It just parked itself right in the turn, and the line wasn't altering. What happens is, like, the front or the back's too soft and the bike doesn't go up and down together. It goes like this because one goes faster than the other. That changes the steering angle as the back goes up, and you know, things like that, and that alters your line mid-turn. Out of the box, it wasn't doing that. It was just sat there stable as anything. Like, damn. We haven't even dialed the suspension in. I mean, I probably got it about 80% where it needs to be. And the steering damper, I guess, probably helps too. The brakes are definitely starting to feel better. Whatever stuff was on the rotors and pads is coming off. Alright, now Jimmy, don't you dare drop my goddamn bike. We can go over there. Alright, folks. Nice little place. If you're in Brazelton, Georgia, hit this place up. We'll see you guys a little later.